come to our end of introductory session. And now I would like to hand over the session to our expert. I request her to start the session. So
Okay,
can you
thank
take
you.
over?
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Ayush. Thank you very much for the introduction. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
All right. I would just request, first of all, from everybody here to just mute yourself during the session. All right. And we'll just give you a chance at the end of the session to ask any query or question maybe related to the topics which you are going to cover today, or maybe if you guys have any question related to the course, upcoming course. All right. So just a request, humble request from all of you to please mute yourself for next 1 hour maybe. All right. So welcome again, guys. My name is Anudesh Sachan, and I have more than 4 years of experience in the construction industry. I started working in the execution and worked with companies like DBL and CC Limited, and later on, I worked as a planning engineer with Sanjeev's Global, and my last project was Mumbai Railway, MRVC. And so here I am. So here I am today with you all, and I'm going to take your demo session on the Primavera P6, which is related to the upcoming course. On this same session, we are going to discuss all the details, like, whatever the things we are going to cover in the session, or maybe in the coming, courses. So without any further delay, let us start the demo session today. So guys, don't worry, I'll be, bilanguage. I'll also be using Hindi as well, because I guess, like, most of you present here are comfortable with both the language, right? So the very first thing, the topics which we are going to cover today in our session. Yeah. So guys, within this 1 hour, we are going to cover all these topics, right? In today's session, we'll be discussing about what is project management and what is the nature. Okay. We'll be discussing about project management and nature of project, right? What is the nature of project? Like, what are the important KPI you should always track, or in terms of, like, if you are a project manager, or even if you are at any particular designation, what makes it critical in the project, and the things, or you can say the parameters which are very important to track at every stage of the project. We'll be discussing about those. Then we'll discuss about the stages in a project, right? One, a construction project, right, goes with a lot of different stages. We'll be covering in a short about those stages, and then we'll discuss about, project schedule, building process in the P6, Primavera P6. What is the process, actual process, what data you need, right, and what are the information you require at the beginning while creating a schedule. Then we'll talk about the critical path method, right? We'll be discussing a theoretical, with the help of theoretical examples, so that you get clear with the terminologies of critical path method. And later on, we'll also be discussing, and we'll be looking into that how you can quickly create a schedule in Primavera P6 if you have right kind of data with you. Then we'll discuss about the S-curve, which is also very important. People who are here from the planning background, who are already working on that, they must be familiar with this term as well, right? So apart from that, if time will allow, we'll also discuss about weightages, right? That's a very important concept here, right? So these are the topics which we'll be covering today, right, in this session. And later on at the end, I'll also tell you the entire syllabus for the upcoming course. We have a lot of other things here. We'll be covering Excel things, like how you can prepare a dashboard related to the project management, or maybe for the monitoring purpose of your project, how you can prepare dashboards, and how you can monitor the entire project progress. If somebody is just putting the data on the daily basis on the Excel sheet, you'll automatically get that stuff created and all those stuff, right? So let us first start from the very first topic. What is project management and nature of the project? So as the definition says, project management is the application of knowledge, skills, experience, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirement. A very simple thing, right? Project management is the application of knowledge, right? Whatever the knowledge you have, right? whatever the right skill set you have, and your experience and tools and techniques, right? The application of all these things, knowledge, skill, experience, tools, and techniques to a project activities to meet the project requirement. The ultimate goal is that your project should get completed in a time within the resources available to you and within the budgeted cost, whatever you have defined, right? So to meet that project requirement, when you apply your knowledge, skills, experience, and tools, right, different tools, that's actually called as a project management, right? Project management is the process of achieving set goals within the constraint of time, budget, and resources, right? Sequential execution of several activities to achieve a specific target. So most important to say these three things, right? Time, budget, right, and resources, right? These are the three important things, right? Within the constraint of these three parameters, you'll always be working in a project. So you need to take care of time, you need to take care of your budget, you need to take care of your resources. And that's what the software allows you, right? To track these three parameters. Although a project may have more than these parameters, definitely, which are important to look into that. But when we talk about the software, Primavera P6, it gives you comfort to easily track all these three parameters. Apart from that, we also have risk register and issue register available in the software, but that's not actually for the monitoring purpose. That's only so that you can note down the issues or the risk coming into the project in the software. Yes, but definitely we have another software, Primavera P6, for risk, which only and only works with the risk management thing. So that's not the part of this, you can say not the part of this similar tool, which we'll be discussing on this course. But yes, we do have a software, right? Now, coming up next, if we talk about the nature of the project, okay, so every project will have a specific objective to be completed within certain specification, right? So what does I mean by a specific object? If you are building a road, then it will definitely have some objective, right? You need to connect point A to point B. That's why you are building a road. If you are just building a you are making a building, then it will also have some kind of objective, right? And later on, like as we discussed earlier, every project will have a definite start and end date. That is, project is time bounded, right? Each and every project will have boundaries of time, right? जब आपको contract मिलता है, you get a time, limited time that you have to finish this up in next coming 2 years or maybe 5 years, what the project duration is. So the most important thing to understand is there is a boundary of time, and you have to finish your project within that boundaries, right? You have funding limitations. That means your cost is also bounded, right? You have a limitation of cost, and you have to finish your all activities or your project within the constraint, right? Within the constraint of cost, definitely. It also consumes human and non-human resources. That means labor, equipment, materials. That means project is resource bounded. And another thing, you have to fulfill the required quality need in your project. That means it's also a quality bounded. Now, apart from all these highlighted parameters, you need to monitor risk, you need to monitor issues coming in the project. But as I talked before, like cost, time, and resources can be managed with this software. That's why we are just focusing, or we are just hitting again and again on these three parameters. Now, what the relation is, if something goes wrong with the time, it will automatically impact on cost or maybe in the resources. That's why they all are related. So you need to monitor each and every parameter in a in a good way, right? Or you can say parallelly you have to look into all these parameters. Okay, if if you are increasing the number of resources, right, the cost will automatically goes up, right? So that the relation is, they all three are related to each other. So that was like the nature of project. If you talk about the stages, then you have initiation, planning, execution, and controlling, right? And what happens in initiation stage, you just describe the objective and the initial scope. Let's take an example, like if you are just making a road, then in the initially you will only define that whether it's going to be a a flexible pavement or maybe rigid one, or maybe you can say that it will be a kacha road or pakka road kind of thing, right? Or you are not going into detail like what is the total traffic coming into the road and what will be the thickness of the layers, what is going to be the proper alignment and everything, right? It takes time. You need to move into the planning stage. You need to do a proper survey and all these things you have to take care of, like whether the land is available or not, all those things, right? So in the initial stage, you just go ahead with the initial scope. You do the financial analysis, whether if the project is going to be come up from any government agency, then they will look into the budget, whether we have a budget this year or okay. All right. Okay. Then stakeholders analysis and formal approvals. If there are some approvals to be taken in the initial stage, then you take those formal approvals as well. So ये सारी चीजें होती जो आप initiation stage में करते हो, right? Then moving up next to the planning stage. Now here the detailed things are carried out, right? आप detail में cost estimation करते हो, budget prepare करते हो, you do the procurement planning, right? You go ahead with the team development, quality assurance, risk analysis is the part like from the beginning to the end, right? Although we'll be discussing a bit about the risk analysis in the coming courses. Now, then you prepare a work breakdown structure, right? Then activity and sequencing, right? Then schedule development. These are all the part of like, you do these things inside the software, either you are using MSP or P6. Okay. Then execution. And before this happens, a board of contract is actually going to happen here somewhere, right? Between this planning, after the planning is done and before the execution starts, right? Then there will be a board of contract and then contract administration. At the execution stage, you'll be, executing as per the plan and coordinating with the various agencies and stakeholders involved in the project. You'll try to resolve the issues, right? You'll do the information and data collection, that because you need to make a reports and you need to inform your management as well. That's why the most important thing is data and information, right? And that's what we'll be doing in our coming courses as well. If you need to prepare some kind of dashboard or maybe SCR or anything which is related to the report kind of thing, you would require a data for that. Okay. Then in the controlling part, you monitor against the plan, analyze the progress, make catch-up plans, okay, quality control and risk analysis. So these are all the part of controlling stage. If you'll drill down these project stages, then definitely you are going to get some more. It's like concept, planning, designing, award of contract, execution, commissioning, operations, and demolition. So these are like drill down of the previous slide, and you'll get your project is going to go ahead from all these 8 stages in the entire life cycle, right? Now coming up next, if we talk about like how this entire process will be mapped inside the Primavera P6. If you want to prepare your schedule, right, or maybe if you want to plan your schedule, okay, in the Primavera P6, then what are the simple steps you need to go through, right, to create a complete schedule in the Primavera P6. So the very first step is going to be preparing a EPS and OBS structure. I missed it, OBS, you can write it down here. So enterprise project structure and organization breakdown structure, although they are not much needed when you are working in a standalone environment, right? So EPS, obviously you need it, right? So EPS is nothing but a kind of a tree structure, or you can say a hierarchical structure where you just define you are just putting your projects inside that. I'll just show you in a couple of minutes what EPS is. And similarly, the breakdown of the organization, OBS, organization breakdown structure. And once these things are ready, you go ahead and add the project. आप एक नया project add करते हो. Then you define a calendar, obviously what is going to be the calendar in which you will be working on. Then using the project scope, right? जो भी आपको scope मिलता है, you need to break it down into WBS, work breakdown structure. Now, a very important thing is WBS in your project. ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा important होता है, right? So that you can monitor your project in an efficient way. अगर आपका WBS सही नहीं है, तो आप हो सकता है कि आपको कभी problem है. You'll not be getting प्रोग्रेस ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट एज पर योर रिक्वायरमेंट में भी, राइट? आप ये बोल सकते हो। तो एक सही ढंग से स्कोप को तोड़ना और उससे WBS बनाना, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज हो जाती है, राइट? इसको भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे कमिंग अप इन some slide right down below. उसके बाद you'll just add the activities inside WBS label, and then you'll define relationship, you'll add resources, and when I say resources, you again deal with the cost and all everything, right? And then after doing all these things, you'll say that your baseline, or you can say this as a plan, is ready, right? So when you say baseline, it's nothing but a plan. So here the plan gets ready, और जब एक बार प्लान रेडी हो जाता है आपका, यू मूव अहेड एंड यू अपडेट इट अगेन एंड अगेन जैसे जैसे प्रोग्रेस होती आती है, एंड in that way you can track your project, you can monitor and control like whether you are getting delayed or you are going over budget or maybe something like that. So this is the entire process which you do inside the Primavera P6. Now moving up further, as I told you that we'll be discussing about the work breakdown structure. Okay. Guys, I'll just request you all to please mute yourself. Okay, so WBS is a key project deliverable that organizes the team work into manageable sections. The project management body of knowledge, PMBOK, you might have heard about this term, defines the work breakdown structure as a deliverable oriented hierarchical decomposition of the work to be executed by the project team. The work breakdown structure is a hierarchical decomposition of the total scope of the work to be carried out by the project team to accomplish the project objective and create the required deliverable, right? So as I told you before, आप क्या करते हो, एक complete scope को अपने project के break कर रहे होते हो different chunks में, right? अब I'll show you with the help of this example, then you'll get a better clarity over this, right? Let's suppose, it's very important to break WBS into certain labels. यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हो that it has been breaked into these 7 labels, in 7 labels, right? Obviously, the very first one before this would be your project name, whatever the project name is. Now, why I break this WBS into work, then department, then contract, then ID, or maybe the location where the work is going on, then EPS and activity type, and further at the end, at the last level, your activities will come up. Why I did like this? Let's suppose someday somebody comes to me and he's from maybe signaling and telecom department, and he wants to know the progress of one particular individual contract, right? Or let me take an example of engineering. Somebody comes from engineering department and he says to me like, I'm only willing to know the progress of lot 2, or you can say the contract 2, right? So if I'll not have this contract breakdown, right, I will not have this contract label, I cannot give him the individual progress of this label, right? Or maybe you can say the individual progress of this contract, right? In the same way, if somebody comes and tell me like, I'm only interested in looking into, the progress of foundation work, right, for this VLP, right? With this VLP, it's a foot over bridge, right, at Dhule Parle. So if somebody says that I am only interested to look into the foundation progress of this VLP, right? So if you'll not have, breakdown where you have something like foundation in your WBS, then obviously you cannot give it, right? So you need to take care कि जो भी आप ब्रेक डाउन कर रहे हो, राइट, उसमें वो सारी मेजर चीजें आनी चाहिए जिसमें जिस लेवल पे आप अपनी प्रोग्रेस को देखना चाहते हो, राइट? दैट्स द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज। तो इस तरीके से WBS कैसे ब्रेक करना है वो चीज हम कोर्स में भी डिस्कस करेंगे, राइट? कि हाउ यू हैव टू थिंक ऑफ दिस, किस तरीके से आपको इसको ब्रेक करना है, राइट? तो ये कुछ इस तरीके से WBS दिखाई देता है, ठीक है? तो हाईएस्ट लेवल होता है वो आपका प्रोजेक्ट का नाम होता है, और जो लास्ट लेवल होता है, जो सबसे लास्ट वाला, उसमें आपकी एक्टिविटीज होती हैं, राइट? अब यहाँ पर अगर आप टॉप पर देखोगे, राइट, तो ये एक प्रोजेक्ट था, राइट? इसको आप बोल सकते हो एक प्रोजेक्ट जिसके अंदर ट्रैक वर्क भी था और आपके फुटओवर कंस्ट्रक्शन थे, और मे भी हो सकता था बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन भी इन्वॉल्व होती, स्टेशन बिल्डिंग ऑब्वियसली, राइट? इट्स जस्ट एन रेलवे प्रोजेक्ट, दैट्स व्हाई। तो इस केस में first of all you need to segregate based on the work. If that's track work, you need to separate it. If that's a foot over bridge, you need to separate it, right? So इस तरीके से breakdown होता है. You just differentiate all these things and you break the entire scope of the project, right? ये सारी चीजें scope में थी, but you have broken down them into chunks, right? Measurable chunks basically. Okay, now this is something how the schedule looks like inside the Primavera P6 इस तरीके से. अब you would already have heard about all these terms: early start date, early finish date, late start and late finish date, right? आपने जब प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट के बारे में पढ़ा होगा, right, कॉलेज में, तब ये सारी चीजें आपने सुनी होंगी. Okay, early start date क्या होती है? The earliest possible date on which the work or the activity can begin. In the same way, for the early finish, the earliest possible date on which the activity can finish, right? That's called as early finish date. Late start, the latest possible date on which the activity can start, and in the same way, the latest possible date on which activity can finish up. That's the latest start and late finish date, right? Coming up next, these are the relationships: finish to start. When activity A will finish, then B will start. Then that's simply called as finish to start relationship. When A and B are finishing on the same day, it doesn't matter if B is starting on the same day or maybe earlier, or maybe A is starting earlier, but they should just finish up on the same day. Then you'll call them as a finish to finish relationship. In the same way, if two activities are starting on the same day, doesn't matter when they are ending up, but if they are starting on the same day, you'll call them as a start to start relationship. And this is guys, this is not being used, but yes, it is also a kind of relationship available in Primavera P6, start to finish. Now coming up, there's something called as lag, right? You may have positive lag and you may have negative lag, right? Well, let us try to understand with this with an example. If let's suppose you are having this B activity starting from here, right? From here when activity A started, then these would have been in a start to start relationship. But now what happened is they still have a start to start relationship, but B is starting after 5 days of a starting of A activity, right? So you can say start to start plus 5-day lag, right? Let's take an example. When you are doing the excavation for your footings maybe, right? And the next coming up activity is laying a PCC, right? So you don't wait that, let's suppose you have 20 footings, right? So in actual, you don't wait for all those 20 footings to be excavated, right? You excavate 2 or 3 maybe, and then you start working on those 2 and 3 for the PCC, and then you later on just continue with this excavation process and all. So this is how the lag concept is being used, right? You'll have a start to start, but will have a positive lag or maybe have a negative lag like this, right? So this is about the relationship, right? Now, what is the critical activity and what is the critical path? You'll just get to know. Okay. Now we have this called as forward pass, as you have already, you might have already done a lot of examples or a lot of questions in your college days when you are studying project management subject. Now we have these early start and early finish date here. This is activity A, this is activity B, and this is activity C, right? And they are just starting in the same day. Okay, A, B, and C. These denotes the total duration of these activity, and these are the relationship. And what will be the formula for early finish date? That's what something important here, right? Because if these 3 activities are starting on the same day, maybe on 1st of January 2008, then obviously they will all have the same early start date, right? Because they are starting on the same day. Now for early finish, you need to add duration on early start and -1. That's a simple formula for the early finish. So from that you'll get the early finish date here like this, and then you have these 2 activities, and then if this is the E activity, and when you say these are what, these are the predecessors, right? ये क्या कहलाएंगे आपके predecessors, and for E this F is what, successor, So this is the successor and predecessor thing. जो एक्टिविटी आपकी आगे आने वाले टाइम पे स्टार्ट होने वाली है, दैट विल बी कॉल्ड अ सक्सेसर, एंड जो एक्टिविटीज आपकी पीछे उस एक्टिविटी के पहले खत्म हो चुके हैं, दे विल बी कॉल्ड एज प्रीडिसेसर. नाउ एन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग टू नोट हियर, we have E activity, right? And we are having two predecessor, B and C for this E, right? And now B is ending on 15th and C is ending on 7th. Now, when you can start this activity E, right? Then if the relationship is finished to start, that means when these two activities will finish, then only you can start the next activity. That means you have to wait for the time when both these predecessor gets over, or both these predecessor gets finished. So even if C is getting finished on the 7th, you need to wait for 15, so that early on the 16th you can start this activity, right? That's what the meaning is, meaning for this particular relationship. And that's how this forward pass works, and that's how early start and early finish date works. Okay, so this is something called as forward pass. Okay, in the same way, in backward pass, you just revise this same kind of exercise, you can say, right? And this time you goes from here to here, right? Now here you have latest finish date, which is actually similar to this early finish date, 30th of January 2008. And now here you have formula for late start, and that is what late finish minus duration plus 1. Very good. I would just request you to please mute. Okay, so this is the late finish date, and using this formula you can get late start dates, and similarly for all these three, all these activities listed out here. So you have got early start date, early finish date, right? And late start date and late finish date. ठीक है, ये चारों की चारों जो dates हैं जो हमने ऊपर देखी थी, you have got these dates, right? Using this concept. Now let me tell you one more thing. When you are using a software, you don't need to do all this exercise, right? You just need to put your duration, your relationships, and that's it, right? It'll automatically get these all the dates, right? We'll see this on the software. Now there are two concepts, float and under float. When you say, you have two kinds of float, free float and total float. Now try to understand it very carefully. When I say free float of an activity is the amount of time by which the activity can be delayed without delaying the successor activity. इसका मतलब क्या है कि एक एक्टिविटी का जो फ्री फ्लोट होगा, किसी भी एक्टिविटी का, वो फ्री फ्लोट होगा, आप कितना ज्यादा से ज्यादा उस एक्टिविटी को, इट विल बी ऑन डेज, राइट? क्योंकि हम ज्यादातर जो शेड्यूल प्रिपेयर करते हैं कंस्ट्रक्शन के अंदर, वो डेज पे होता है, राइट? तो अगर किसी एक्टिविटी में फ्री फ्लोट है, तो इट डिफाइंस दैट द अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम, कितने दिन आप उस एक्टिविटी को डिले कर सकते हो, सो दैट उसका जो सक्सेसर एक्टिविटी है, जस्ट सक्सेसर एक्टिविटी, वो डिले ना हो. ठीक है, मतलब अगर मैं इस प्रीवियस स्लाइड पे जाता हूं, तो इसका सक्सेसर जो है वो एफ है. फॉर दिस ई द सक्सेसर इज एफ. और मैं बोलता हूं कि अगर यहाँ पर ई का फ्री फ्लोट होता, ओके, 6 फ्री फ्लोट, इसका मतलब क्या था कि इस ई एक्टिविटी को मैं 6 दिन तक डिले कर सकता हूं, और इसका जो सक्सेसर है वो डिले नहीं होगा. ठीक है, आई एम जस्ट गिविंग एन एग्जांपल. यहाँ पर डेट्स देखोगे तो यहाँ पर फ्लोट है नहीं, बट ऑल्दो आई एम जस्ट गिविंग एन एग्जांपल. ठीक है, कि अगर मैं इस एक्टिविटी को डिले करता हूं, ठीक है, 6 दिन, तो ये सक्सेसर एक्टिविटी डिले नहीं होगी. दैट्स कॉल्ड एज फ्री फ्लोट. नाउ कमिंग अप टू द टोटल फ्लोट. Total float is the amount of time by which the activity can be delayed without delaying the project finish date, right? इसका मतलब क्या है कि आप किसी एक एक्टिविटी को कितना ज्यादा से ज्यादा डिले कर सकते हो, so that जो प्रोजेक्ट है, ओवरऑल प्रोजेक्ट डिले नहीं होगा. ठीक है, that means the finish date of the project will not get delayed. तो हमारे लिए जो मेजर इंपॉर्टेंट चीज हो जाती है, वो क्या हो जाती है? टोटल फ्लोट, राइट? We ultimately don't want our project to get delayed. हम अपने प्रोजेक्ट को डिले होना नहीं चाहते, है ना? तो अगर टोटल फ्लोट किसी एक्टिविटी का 0 है, that means that activity is critical. If you will delay that activity even a single day, right, आपका जो प्रोजेक्ट है वो डिले हो जाएगा. राइट. तो इसलिए हमारा जो मेजर फोकस होता है वो टोटल फ्लोट में होता है, एंड टोटल फ्लोट डिफाइंड वेदर द एक्टिविटी इज क्रिटिकल और नॉट, राइट. तो हमेशा हम फोकस करते हैं क्रिटिकल एक्टिविटीज में. व्हाई? बिकॉज लेट्स सपोज यू हैव टू थिंग्स, राइट. यू हैव टू एक्टिविटीज गोइंग ऑन, one is critical and one is not critical, right? And you have a limited resources. Now you need to think like whether I should send them here or maybe here. Then always and always your priority will be this critical activity, because this is not critical. It has some kind of lag. It has some kind of float, sorry, right? But if you'll delay this activity today, it is going to impact your project. That's why you always and always need to focus on this critical activity, right? That's what the difference between free float and total float. And these are the formula, guys. And if you'll see on this chart, right, on this chart, now we have that same schedule which you have seen in the previous slides. We have just connected those two slides, forward pass and backward pass, and this is how it looks like, right? So at the every level, or maybe you can say at the every row, we have defined total float and free float for all these activities, right? And if you'll see, these three activities which are highlighted by the red color have zero total float, right? And similarly, these two activity have 2 as a total float, and this is the one activity which have 10 as total float. Okay, that means that these three are the critical activities in the project. You need to focus on these three critical activities. Now, when I say critical path is nothing but a path where all the activities are critical. That simple is the definition of critical path. एक ऐसा path जिसमें सारी एक्टिविटी क्रिटिकल होती हैं, और वही जो पाथ होता है वो प्रोजेक्ट का सबसे लॉन्गेस्ट पाथ होता है. हम आगे चर्चा करेंगे कि जब आप कोई सा भी क्रशिंग करते हो, फास्ट ट्रैकिंग करते हो, प्रोजेक्ट की ड्यूरेशन कम करने की कोशिश करते हो, वो सारी चीजें कहाँ पर इंप्लीमेंट करते हो, क्यों करते हो, राइट. तो अभी के लिए अगर आप यहाँ पर देखोगे तो दिस इज द लॉन्गेस्ट ड्यूरेशन ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट, राइट. इफ यू ऐड ऑल दिस 12 plus 15 or 13, then it comes to 30. And if you'll say about this path, जो ऐसे से यहाँ से जाकर के ऐसे जा रहा है, right, then you'll get what 15 and 10 25, right. And this is this path I'm telling about, right, this one. So 15 plus 10 25 and 3 28, and this last one 7 plus 10 17 plus 3 20. So what is the longest path? This one, the critical path. So critical path will always be the longest path in the project, right. Now this is called as baseline, right. इस तरीके से प्राइमेरा में आपको गैंट चार्ट में रिप्रेजेंटेशन होती है. This A planned is the planned bar and this A actual is the actual bar. And let's suppose if you'll have delayed in your activity, right, इस तरीके से आपके बार जो हैं वो एक दूसरे से आगे पीछे हो रहे होंगे. This will represent the variance. Okay. Now very important concept, guys, right. We just discussed about these few things, right, listed out here, right. हमने प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट के बारे में डिस्कस किया, नेचर ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में डिस्कस किया, स्टेजेस इन अ प्रोजेक्ट डिस्कस की, क्या प्रोसेस होती है, क्रिटिकल पाथ क्या होता है, ये सारी चीजें डिस्कस की. नाउ वी नीड टू लुक इनटू द शेड्यूल, राइट, प्रिपरेशन शेड्यूल को किस तरीके से प्रिपेयर करना है आपको, एंड बेसिक्स अबाउट द एस कर्व, एंड देन वी हैव अ वेटेज कांसेप्ट itself, right. Now, what is the importance of weightage concept, right? It's quite important. Now, when I say like, when I say कि मुझे एक प्रोजेक्ट मेजरमेंट करने वाला एक सिस्टम चाहिए, और I'll say you कि मुझे एक ऐसा सिस्टम क्रिएट करके दो so that I can measure the physical progress of my project. And how you will do that? ठीक है, आप किस तरीके से बनाओगे? Let me just show you quickly. Okay, if I'm going here, this is how the S curve is being prepared in the Primavera with the help of Primavera P6 data, and that's what we'll be learning in the course in our in our course as well, right. तो ये सारा कुछ डेटा है जो हमने Primavera P6 से इंपोर्ट किया है, और इस तरीके से आपको वेटेजेस के कॉन्सेप्ट पते होने चाहिए, तब जाकर के आप वेटेजेस दे पाओगे, so that you can calculate this entire प्रोग्रेस. अब यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हो आपको ईच एंड एवरी एक्टिविटी की, ईच एंड एवरी मंथ की क्या प्रोग्रेस होने वाली है वो मिल जाएगी, राइट. यू हैव प्रोग्रेस फॉर ईच एंड एवरी मंथ, राइट. इसी तरीके से इन सब का मिला करके ओवरऑल प्रोजेक्ट जो है आपका वो कितनी प्रोग्रेस कर रहा है इन दीज मंथ, वो भी आपको मिल जाएगी, राइट. अगर आप यहाँ से देखोगे तो दिस इज फ्रॉम वेयर इट स्टार्ट्स, राइट, एंड इट गोज लाइक दिस, ठीक है, क्यूमुलेटिव प्रोग्रेस. And similarly, this was the planned, and here it is the actual progress, right. तो ये फिजिकल प्रोग्रेस कैसे आप derive कर पा रहे हो, what is the method for that, right? S curve कैसे बनता है? You will not find these things in any of the platform, right? YouTube, Udemy, anywhere, right? Because it involves the weightage concept, right? And that's what something we are not aware of, right? और बहुत कम लोग होते हैं जो इस चीज को फिजिकल प्रोग्रेस को इस तरीके से मॉनिटर कर पाते हैं, right? अब अगर आप यहाँ पर देखोगे नीचे एस कर्व है, this curve shows the planned versus actual, and a very beautiful thing here, if you'll observe, there's another curve which is in red, in green color, and this is giving you the expected progress, right? Expected progress दे रहा है आपको. ये जो yellow है वो आपको planned बता रहा है हर month का, and this blue one is telling you the actual which you have achieved. And since we are at this stage of the project, तो इसके बाद जो भी green line है वो आपको expected progress दे रहा है. Now if I'll ask you something with the help of this curve, let me just show you how you can read this out. Okay, तो अगर मैं आपसे बोलता हूँ कि in the month of April maybe, right, what was the plan and how much I was able to, achieve. Give me the data about that, right? So simply I'll put like this array and like this. I'll put it here once and then here. So if I'll say in the month of April, my plan was to achieve something around 80%, but in actual I was only something around 43 or maybe 45% somewhere, right? So this is how you can easily read the S curve, right? Now, if I'll say that if you have planned in the month of April that you will complete something 80%, then now when you are going to achieve that, right? You have already got delayed. Then you can just extend that row and you can just put it like this. So now here is something when you will be achieving 80% progress. First of all, you are achieving it on the month of April and now something around August, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, approx 4.5 month delay, right? So this is how using the S curve, it becomes quite important for you so that you can monitor the physical progress of your project. और कैसे बनाना है ये सारी चीजें, कैसे वेटेज का कॉन्सेप्ट कैसा होता है, ताकि आप इस तरीके से डिटेल में हर एक एक्टिविटी वाइज हर मंथ का प्रोग्रेस निकाल पाओ, ओवरऑल प्रोजेक्ट का प्रोग्रेस निकाल पाओ. वो सारी चीजें हम अपने कोर्स में देखेंगे, राइट? इसी तरीके से वी हैव दिस काइंड ऑफ डैशबोर्ड और इस तरीके से हम वेटेजेस को पूरा डिवाइड करते हैं किसी भी प्रोजेक्ट के लिए, ठीक है? इसको भी हम थोड़ा देर में देखते हैं कि हाउ वी विल डिवाइड इट या क्यों वेटेजेस को कंसीडर करना चाहिए, राइट? कैसे देते हैं, क्या उसका अप्रोच होता है, वो सारी चीजें बात की कहानी है. ओके, let me just show you a dashboard real quick. This is the dashboard, guys, right? And if you'll see, here is a lot of, this is the entire data, and we have used the concept of pivot table. If you'll go here, this is something called as monthly update, right? We have just divided these three contexts, package 1, package 2, and package 3, just for the demonstration purpose. Now I'll say that, if I have this planned, right? Let me go ahead here. If I have my planned scope, this particular thing is on the basis of a scope, right? मेरी अगर total quantity थी 1500 square meter और मैंने बोला कि मुझे दिसंबर मंथ में 1000 कंप्लीट करनी थी और जनवरी मंथ में 500 करनी थी. अब अगर मैंने दिसंबर मंथ में 1000 कर लिया है, बट इन द मंथ ऑफ जनवरी आई हैव नॉट अप्रोच्ड, राइट? मैंने वो चीज मैंने सिर्फ 200 ही complete किया है. So what will the progress, right? If you'll see the progress is not dropped. Okay, पहले यहाँ पर 14 थी, now you are looking here 13. And similarly, now if I'll say कि मैं किसी next month में जा करके इस चीज को पूरा करता हूँ, right? तो I have done it, but अभी भी ये जो चीज है overall 13 ही आ रही है progress, right? So if I'll increase it a bit more, maybe 200, right? So if you'll see here, now the progress has got updated. So इस तरीके से scope based progress किस तरीके से बनाते हैं, right? इनके बारे में हम सीखेंगे कि आपको स्कोप के बेस में अगर इस तरीके से डेली बेसिस में भी बनाना हो, अभी तो ये मंथली बेसिस पे है, राइट? तो किस तरीके से बनाएंगे सो दैट आपके साइट का जो डेटा आ रहा है, डेली बेसिस की जो प्रोग्रेस आ रही है, सिर्फ आपको उसको यहाँ डालने की जरूरत होगी और हर एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेवल पे आप देख पाओगे कि इसका कितना प्रोग्रेस है. और इन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेवल से मतलब इन पैकेज 1, 2, 3 से ये कनेक्टेड है. So जब ये 1, 2, 3 अपडेट होंगे, so automatically the overall package will also get completed or maybe updated, right? तो ये सारी चीजें देखेंगे, किस तरीके से ये टाइमलाइन बना सकते हो एक्सेल के अंदर, वो देखेंगे। दिस इज कैश फ्लो एंड दिस इज फाइनली द डैशबोर्ड व्हिच इज डायनेमिक एक्चुअली। जो भी चीजें पीछे अपडेट होंगी वो डैशबोर्ड में रिफ्लेक्ट होंगी, राइट। अगर आप पैकेज 1 की इंफॉर्मेशन देखना चाहते हो तो इस तरीके से आप क्लिक करोगे पैकेज 1 में, पैकेज 2 की देखना चाहोगे तो पैकेज 2 की इंफॉर्मेशन होगी। आप यहाँ से टाइमलाइन में जाना चाहते हो, सो यू कैन गो हियर अगेन, मूव डैशबोर्ड, यू कैन गो टू कैश फ्लो, you can this is just completely interactive, right? So how you will make this thing, we'll see later on in the course, right? Now let me quickly give you an example of weightage, why it is important, right? And a small example, okay? Now weightage क्या होता है, इसको मैं एक एक छोटी स्लाइड से अभी समझाने की कोशिश करूंगा। लेट्स सपोज यू हैव दीज थ्री एक्टिविटीज, डिजाइन वर्क, प्रोक्योरमेंट वर्क एंड कंस्ट्रक्शन वर्क, राइट? तो ये कैसे काम करेगा, राइट? आप जब बोलते हो कि आपके पास 3 एक्टिविटी है, तो आप क्या सबको इक्वल वेटेज दे दोगे, 33.33, 33.33 एंड 33.33? नो, राइट, ऐसा नहीं होगा। अगर आप ऐसा देते हो तो फिर आपकी जो फिजिकल प्रोग्रेस है वो कभी सही नहीं आएगी, और अगर वो जो भी आ रही है दैट इज एक्चुअली नॉट करेक्टेड। दिस इज नॉट हाउ द फिजिकल प्रोग्रेस इज बीइंग मॉनिटर्ड, ठीक है? तो एज अ प्लानिंग इंजीनियर, या जब आप प्लानिंग की बात करते हो, ठीक है, तो आपके लिए वेटेज का कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है। यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ यू विल ब्रेक, राइट? क्या वेटेजेस दोगे। अब मान लो अगर आपने पहली कंडीशन में जो वेटेजेस लिखे हैं, ठीक है, वैसे दे दिए होते, कैसे देना है, क्या क्या चीजें कंसीडर करनी है, वो सारी बात की कहानी है, बट दिक्कत क्या आएगी वो समझो। अगर आपने ऐसे वेटेजेस दे दिए होते और मैंने बोलता कि आई एम अ क्लाइंट एंड आई एम आस्किंग यू व्हाट इज द प्रोग्रेस ऑफ माय प्रोजेक्ट, and let's suppose you haven't started working on site till now, you have only done the design part and you have only procured the material, you haven't started the excavation on the site itself, but later on if I'll ask you the progress, you'll say it's something around 67%, which is nonsense thing. You cannot have 67% of progress, right? And you are saying that you have 67% of progress and you have, in actual, you haven't started working on the side also, right? So this is absolutely the incorrect progress coming up, right? So the thing is that you should never have equal weightages to all your activities। यहाँ पर 10 एक्टिविटीज हैं तो आपने 10% सबको दे दिया एंड टोटल 100% हो गया। दिस इज नॉट द राइट अप्रोच। यू नीड टू थिंक ऑन कि किस तरीके से आपको प्रोग्रेस देना है। Pre-construction activities हैं, they will obviously have less weightages. Design work will be 5%, procurement you can give 7%, and major thing construction work will have 88% progress. Now, at this stage, if I'll ask, you'll say the total overall percentage progress is 12%, and it sounds pretty well, right? Okay, ठीक है, अपनी इन चीजों को include किया है तो progress इतनी हो रही है, right? Now, in real scenario in industry it also plays a manipulation thing, ठीक है? ये बहुत जगह मैनिपुलेशन करने के काम में भी आती हैं, वो सारी चीजें बात की हैं, इनको बाद में देखेंगे। So this is how the concept of weightages work। इस तरीके से आप पूरे weightages डिफाइन करते हो अपने प्रोजेक्ट में, और इस तरीके से ये सारी चीजें होती हैं, राइट? Now let us quickly go in the Primavera P6 और देखते हैं कि अगर आपको एक शेड्यूल प्रिपेयर करना है, ठीक है, तो आप किस तरीके से करते हो। मैं यहाँ पर क्या करने वाला हूँ, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू प्रिपेयर अ कंप्लीट शेड्यूल, मैं शेड्यूल को इंपोर्ट करूंगा, राइट, विद द हेल्प ऑफ एक्सेल। नाउ दिस इज ऑल गोइंग टू द पार्ट ऑफ कोर्स कि हम किस तरीके से ये सारी चीजें कर रहे होंगे, ठीक है? तो मुझे यहाँ पर एक सिंपल से इस तरीके से प्रोजेक्ट ऐड करना है, ठीक, और मैं अभी के लिए इसको फिनिश कर देता हूँ। I'll give you a name, demo project, okay, and I'll just open it up, okay? Now I'll go here in the WBS section, right? And now I have this Excel file जहाँ पर मेरे पास इस तरीके से डेटा है, और मैं चाहता हूँ कि ये जो डेटा है मेरा वो कहाँ पर हो जाए, वो उसकी हेल्प से मैं एक शेड्यूल बना लूँ, राइट? सो आई एम गोइंग एंड एडिंग अप WBS here इस तरीके से। I'll just show you in a very simple steps कि किस तरीके से आप quickly, if you have data in the Excel, आपको क्लाइंट ने दिया हुआ है तो आप कैसे तुरंत एक शेड्यूल प्रिपेयर कर सकते हो सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर, राइट? ऑल्दो देयर इज लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स टू डिस्कस ऑन, जो अभी हम सिलेबस में देखने वाले हैं कि हम क्या क्या कवर कर रहे होंगे प्राइमवेरा के अंदर, ठीक है? तो इस तरीके से मैंने एक सिंपल सा शेड्यूल बना लिया है, इसको ठीक है, क्लोज कर देते हैं और एक बार देखते हैं अंदर जा करके. All right, so this is how we have WBS right now. I'll put here and one simple activity, finish, and I'll go here. And now I'm going to export this schedule. ठीक है, मैंने इसको export किया. मैं इसको spreadsheet के form में चाहता हूँ. Spreadsheet is what? Excel actually. Click here next. I want activities and activity relationship. That's it. I just want these two things for now. Right? Resources अभी हम यहाँ पे नहीं add कर रहे हैं. We are not adding anything. ठीक है. These are all things which I want. That's it. Okay, next, and finish. Export successful. Let's see whether we have got this. Just export it again. I don't remember whether I have. What was the location? So we will have this now. Go somewhere. Yeah, so here this is the project, right? Okay, so इस तरीके से हमने इसको export कर लिया. Now we just need to add activities and WBS code and all those things, right? So I'm just adding these activities. I'll just copy these activities and name of these activities like this. All right, and I'll put them here. Okay, let's delete this row. Everything is not started, and for now I'm just putting all these activities under one WBS code only, on the same WBS code, sorry. And later on inside that I'll just copy them in the different places. Now all these things you don't need to put, as I told you before कि dates कुछ भी आपको नहीं रखनी होती हैं, relationship देनी होती है Primavera के अंदर, और आपको activities की duration देनी होती है, right? बाकी सारी जो चीजें हैं वो खुद ब खुद सॉफ्टवेयर करता है. ओके, और यहाँ पर आप देखोगे then here you can just give the relationship to the your activities and all. So for now I'm just going to import task using the Excel, और अंदर चल के हम relationship वाली चीजें कर लेंगे, so that आपको पता चल जाएगा कि सॉफ्टवेयर से किस तरीके से आपको relationship and all देनी है, right? So for now I'll just save this. Okay, and done. I'll go back here and I'll say file, import, and I want to import a spreadsheet. Next, it will ask me which is the spreadsheet. Okay, and I will say demo project. Open. Next, activity and activity relationships. Next, import to which schedule? The same schedule. Next, finish. So if you'll see as I did it, right, आप देख सकते हो कि यहाँ पर मेरे पास ये सारी की सारी एक्टिविटीज जो हमने इंपोर्ट की थी वो आ चुकी है. बस एक चीज है कि आप देख रहे हो कि सारी की सारी एक्टिविटीज सिर्फ एक WBS के अंदर आई है. दैट इज बिकॉज वाई, हमने जो इस शीट के अंदर WBS कोड डाले थे वो सारी की सारी एक्टिविटीज में सेम डाले थे. ठीक है, अगर आप यहाँ पर देखोगे तो हमने सबके अंदर सेम कोड डाला था, राइट? अब आप यहाँ पर क्या कर सकते हो, राइट? जो भी एक्टिविटीज जहां पर भी बिलोंग करती है, लेट्स सपोज यहाँ से लेकर के यहाँ तक की जो एक्टिविटीज हैं वो मान लीजिए बिलोंग करती हैं इस WBS को, तो आप इस तरीके से यहाँ पे जा करके पेस्ट कर सकते हो, राइट? एंड फर्दर लेट्स सपोज if there's one more activity, this last one, then you can cut it and you can paste it here, right? So this is how you can easily import your schedule. जैसे अभी आपने सिंपल सा एक्टिविटीज को इंपोर्ट करना देखा, वैसे ही आप सारी चीजें कर सकते हो, राइट? यू कैन इंपोर्ट रिसोर्सेस, कॉस्ट, एवरीथिंग, राइट? नाउ इफ यू हैव दिस थिंग, ओके, और अब यहाँ पर एक चीज है कि आपको ड्यूरेशन भी देनी पड़ेगी, राइट? आप चाहते तो ड्यूरेशन एक्सेल से ला सकते थे, राइट? बट अगर लाना चाहते हो यहाँ पर, तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू नीड टू ऐड अ कॉलम, राइट? यहाँ पर इसको अगर मैं डिफॉल्ट कर देता हूँ और अप्लाई एंड ओके, तो आप देखोगे कि अभी सब जगह जो ओरिजिनल ड्यूरेशन है 4 आ रही है। नाउ यू कैन चेंज दिस, राइट, एज पर योर रिक्वायरमेंट। जिस भी एक्टिविटी की जितनी ड्यूरेशन है, you can just keep on adding it. I'm not discussing you any planning related concept here. I'm just showing you the how software works, right? Because there's in this 1 hour we cannot discuss much about the concept, right? So I'm just trying to show you in a hurry like how you can use this software, right? तो इस तरीके से आप एक्टिविटीज दे सकते थे, यहाँ पर ड्यूरेशन दे सकते थे सबको। एंड फॉर गिविंग द रिलेशनशिप व्हाट यू कैन डू इज, इफ यू गो हियर इन द डाउन, दिस इज द रिलेशनशिप टैब। लेट्स सपोज साइट क्लीनिंग वर्क के बाद सॉइल एक्सकवेशन आपका स्टार्ट होना है, सो यू कैन जस्ट सेलेक्ट योर सक्सेसर एंड सेलेक्ट दिस सक्सेसर एंड दैट्स डन, राइट? एंड दैट्स हाउ you will add the relationship. If you'll schedule this project up, right? Okay. इस तरीके से, तो आपको इस तरीके से यहाँ पर बार्स नजर आएंगे, इनके बीच में अगर रिलेशनशिप होगा तो रिलेशनशिप नजर आएगा। लेट मी जस्ट क्विकली ऐड ऑल दीज रिलेशंस, ऑल दीज एक्टिविटीज इन फिनिश टू स्टार्ट फॉर नाउ, ठीक है? तो इस तरीके से मैं सारी की सारी एक्टिविटीज को अभी के लिए फिनिश टू स्टार्ट में ऐड कर देता हूँ। सो यू कैन सी एक छोटा सा शेड्यूल बन चुका है, ठीक है? ऑल्दो द थिंग्स आर नॉट वेरी करेक्ट हियर इन दिस शेड्यूल, व्हाई? बिकॉज वी हैवंट डिड एनी प्लानिंग, राइट? हमने सिर्फ और सिर्फ शेड्यूल बनाया है यहाँ पर कैसे भी करके, राइट? जस्ट टू शो यू कि किस तरीके से सॉफ्टवेयर वर्क करता है, कितना ईजी है डेटा को एक्सेल से इंपोर्ट कर लेना और उसके साथ, उस डेटा के साथ आप इजीली वर्क कर सकते हो, ठीक है? अब कैसे कैलेंडर बनाते हो उसके अंदर, कैसे रिसोर्सेज ऐड करते हो, कैसे कॉस्ट ऐड करते हो, वो सारी जो चीजें हैं वो बात की चीजें हैं, ओके, जो कि हम कोर्स में अपने डिस्कस करेंगे ऑल दो, राइट? नाउ लेट मी जस्ट एट द एंड लेट मी टेल यू क्विकली कि आप क्या क्या चीजें सीखोगे, ठीक है, इस एंटायर कोर्स के अंदर, राइट? सो यू लर्न प्लान, शेड्यूल एंड कंट्रोल योर प्रोजेक्ट। किस तरीके से आप शेड्यूल को प्लान करते हो, ठीक है? किस तरीके से आप अपने प्रोजेक्ट को कंट्रोल कर सकते हो, किस तरीके से असाइन करोगे रिसोर्सेज to the task and track the progress, right? Monitor and visualize project performance and all these things. These are the highlights. Like project life cycle क्या होती है, basics of project management, master on how to schedule your project, deep down advanced Primavera features. हम सारे के सारे features Primavera में कवर करेंगे from basic to advanced, सारी चीजें, वेदर वो चीजें आपको डे टू डे में यूज आने वाली है या नहीं आने वाली है, बट सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर है, देन यू शुड नो अबाउट दैट। अर्न वैल्यू मैनेजमेंट, अर्न वैल्यू मैनेजमेंट ईवीएम क्या होता है, ये कुछ लोगों को पता होगा। यू कैन जस्ट प्रेडिक्ट द फ्यूचर, राइट? यू कैन से आप आगे की चीज देख सकते हो कि आज जो करंट स्टेटस है आपके प्रोजेक्ट में, राइट? लुकिंग इनटू द करंट स्टेटस ऑफ योर प्रोजेक्ट, हाउ इट इज गोइंग टू बी कंप्लीटेड इन फ्यूचर, कितने बजट में आप कंप्लीट कर रहोगे या उसको कब कंप्लीट कर रहोगे। टुडे द प्रोजेक्ट इज डिलेड, कब एक्चुअल में आप उसे खत्म कर रहे होगे और कितने बजट में खत्म कर रहे होगे। देन रिसोर्स एंड कॉस्ट मैनेजमेंट कैसे करना है सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर, प्रोजेक्ट मॉनिटरिंग एंड डिले एनालिसिस, ठीक है? पीएमएस सिस्टम एंड डायनेमिक डैशबोर्ड इन एक्सेल, जैसे कि हमने देखा, ठीक है? We'll be discussing basics and introduction of project planning and management, getting started with the project schedule with Primavera। ये सारा डिटेल सिलेबस है जो आपको मिल जाएगा, ठीक है? जो जो चीजें हम कवर अप करेंगे, ठीक है? कैसे प्रोजेक्ट का स्कोप प्लान करते हैं, कैसे एक्टिविटी के शेड्यूल को प्लान करते हैं, ये बेसिक्स से एडवांस सारी चीजें हैं जो प्राइमवेरा में आप सीक्वेंस फॉलो करते हो, ईपीएस बनाना, ओबीएस बनाना, डब्ल्यूएस क्रिएट करना एंड एडिंग एक्टिविटीज एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स। Then project schedule management using Primavera P6, understanding progress calculation logic। कि सॉफ्टवेयर सीखने से ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, आई मस्ट शुड नो दैट हाउ सॉफ्टवेयर इज वर्किंग इन द बैकग्राउंड, ठीक है? बैकएंड में सॉफ्टवेयर कैसे काम करता है, तो दैट थिंग आल्सो विल बी डिस्कसिंग कि क्या सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर फॉर्मूले यूज होते हैं, कब आपको क्या चीज लॉजिक यूज करनी चाहिए, ग्रुप एंड शॉर्टिंग एंड फिल्टरिंग, प्रोजेक्ट प्रोग्रेस मॉनिटरिंग एंड अपडेटिंग, राइट? फॉर्मेटिंग प्रिंट्स एंड रिपोर्ट्स, यूजर प्रेफरेंसेस एंड क्रिएटिंग रिसोर्सेज एंड रोल्स, रिसोर्स ऑप्टिमाइजेशन कैसे करना है, प्रोजेक्ट डिले एनालिसिस कैसे करना है, रिकवरी प्लान के बारे में, कॉस्ट मैनेजमेंट, अर्न वैल्यू मैनेजमेंट, प्रोजेक्ट मॉनिटरिंग एंड पीएमएस सिस्टम, जिसमें एक्सेल के अंदर बहुत सारी चीजें हम करेंगे, जैसे कि अस्तर देखा आपने, कुछ इस तरीके से डैशबोर्ड दिखाई देगा. सो दिस इज द एंटायर आउटकम ऑफ द कंप्लीट कोर्स जो कि हम करेंगे, ठीक है, विच इज सून गोइंग टू स्टार्ट, राइट. सो नाउ this is all from my end today. I just try to wrap up a few topics, right, जो कि मुझे important लगे for this session. And now if you guys have any question related to the course or maybe related to the topics which you have covered, you can ask. Yeah, you can drop on the chat box, or if you can ask, you can ask also. Anyone, any question, any query? Okay, Alok, Alok का question है, what is the difference between MSP and Primavera P6? See, Alok, frankly, these both are the scheduling software जिसमें आप शेड्यूल प्रिपेयर करते हो, मॉनिटर करते हो. सेम चीजों के लिए दोनों यूज होते हैं कंस्ट्रक्शन इंडस्ट्री में. हम इंडिया की बात करें तो मेजरली हम माइक्रोसॉफ्ट प्रोजेक्ट यूज कर रहे होते हैं बिकॉज इट्स क्वाइट ईजियर. और अगर मैं इंटरफेस की बात करूं तो ज्यादा बेटर इंटरफेस है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट प्रोजेक्ट के अंदर. बट जब बात आती है आपको बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स को मल्टीपल हैंडल करने में एक बार में, ठीक है, या नंबर ऑफ एक्टिविटीज की जो क्षमता है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट प्रोजेक्ट के अंदर, उसके मामले में प्राइमरी P6 थोड़ा आगे निकल जाता है. तो अपनी अपनी कुछ लिमिटेशंस हैं और कुछ अच्छाइयां हैं. तो आप ओवरऑल ये बोल सकते हो दोनों ही अच्छे हैं, ठीक है, और दोनों ही आपका काम चलाते हैं. बट अगर आप किसी बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स में काम कर रहे हो, मेजर प्रोजेक्ट्स में काम कर रहे हो, तो वहां पर आप देखोगे कि प्राइमरी P6 को प्रेफर किया जाता है एज कम्पेयर टू MSP. बट ऐसा कुछ नहीं कि आप माइक्रोसॉफ्ट प्रोजेक्ट से नहीं कर सकते हो, है ना. एक और सॉफ्टवेयर है इंडस्ट्री में, टाइलोस, जो कि लीनियर प्रोजेक्ट्स के लिए यूज होता है. बट ऑल्दो ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है फिर से कि लीनियर प्रोजेक्ट्स में आप टाइलोस ही यूज करोगे. People are using Microsoft project and my Primavera P6 in road projects also, in railways also. तो कुछ भी ऐसा बाउंड्रीज नहीं है. बट ये है कि माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का वो प्रोजेक्ट है, ये ओरेकल का प्रोजेक्ट है, तो दोनों ने अपने अपने प्रोजेक्ट्स लॉन्च किए. किसी में कुछ लिमिटेशंस हैं, किसी में कुछ अच्छाइयां हैं. सो दैट्स व्हाट इट इज. प्राइमरी P6 आप बोल सकते हो थोड़ा सा आपको ज्यादा नंबर ऑफ एक्टिविटीज के साथ काम करने की सहूलियत देता है. आप मल्टीपल प्रोजेक्ट्स में एक साथ काम कर सकते हो, आप क्लाउड इन्वायरमेंट में काम कर सकते हो. इसी की तरीके से अगर मैं MSP की बात करूं तो वो थोड़ा सा इजियर है, रिपोर्ट्स एंड डैशबोर्ड उसमें ज्यादा बेटर है, और ये सारी चीजें हैं. बट एज एन इंजीनियर आपको दोनों आने चाहिए, क्योंकि कभी रिक्वायरमेंट आती है तो आपसे ये भी पूछा जा सकता है वेदर यू आर कंफर्टेबल विद प्राइमरी P6 और नॉट, राइट. तो अगर आप ये बोलोगे कि नो, आई एम नॉट, आई एम ओनली गुड विद माइक्रोसॉफ्ट प्रोजेक्ट, तो फिर वहां पर हो सकता है कि आप उस अपॉर्चुनिटी को लूज कर दो. सो दैट्स व्हाट द थिंग इज. आई होप आई आंसर्ड योर क्वेश्चन. Obviously, Sailend, it's good for everyone who belongs to construction industry. ठीक है, आपने डिप्लोमा किया हुआ है, आप इंजीनियरिंग करने की सोच रहे हो, या आप इंजीनियरिंग में हो, अभी पढ़ाई कर रहे हो, इट्स गुड टू गो अंटिल आप चाहते हो अपने आप को कंस्ट्रक्शन इंडस्ट्री में आगे, अगर आपका है विचार कि आप कंस्ट्रक्शन इंडस्ट्री में जॉब करोगे, तो डेफिनेटली इट्स अ गुड ऑप्शन फॉर यू. आप अगर प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट की ओर जाना चाहते हो, प्लानिंग की ओर जाना चाहते हो, तो डेफिनेटली अच्छा ऑप्शन है. आज आपने डिप्लोमा कर रखा है, हो सकता है एक्सपीरियंस गेन होगा आपको, तो उस टाइम पे आप उस कोर्स को करोगे, या आप कल को बीटेक करोगे. तो एजुकेशन इज नॉट द कंस्टेंट, दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द इंडस्ट्री. अगर आप कंस्ट्रक्शन इंडस्ट्री में जॉब करने वाले हो, करोगे आगे चल करके, तो डेफिनेटली आपको सीखना चाहिए. अगर आगे चल करके आपको प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट और प्लानिंग इन सब चीजों में जाने का विचार है तो. Course duration will be 21 days, 20 to 21 days.
Hello, Mr.
Yeah.
Anadesh Rajan. How are you?
Yes, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What kind of documents require to make new schedule?
Okay, so about the documents, I would say that some kind of information is there which is important to before to understand, or you can say, like the basic information. Like you should know about the WBS breakup. Okay, client से आप पूछोगे, you will ask the client like whether this WBS breakup works for you or not. Right? Once he will approve the WBS breakup, we'll go ahead with that. Then you require number of activities to be added and the name of those activities which are to be added from the execution team, right? Whether they want to monitor those activities or not, because sometimes it happens that a client is not interested to go deep inside. They don't want micro planning, right? Or maybe sometimes some people are there who are interested into going into the deep inside. So that breakup should be decided with the client whether this is correct or not. Then you need the calendar. What is going to be your project calendar? How you will be working on, right? Also the duration, right? So these are the things which are basically important. Now, coming to another thing, if you'll talk about the documents, then definitely a contract will be an important thing, because from the contract itself you'll get the milestone to be added on the schedule. ठीक है, आप milestone add कर रहे होगे schedule में, you'll get the start date, right? Work order से आपको start date मिलेगी project की, right? And some sort of other information will also be there in the schedule, in the contract, which is actually required for adding on the schedule. So you can say all these overall the information which is required from the client end. Also the relationship which I forget about, right? So yes, सारी information है which you require, and then only you can go ahead and prepare a schedule. Yes, Samiullah, you will get the certification after the course.
Hello,
Yes,
Mr. Ananth, you did not tell any documents. What kind of documents need?
I just told you, right? You haven't
No, no,
got
no.
the
First
answer.
of all, making program, new program making. First of all, what kind of documents? You did not say anything.
I told you, right? You need a contract because some sort of information you need to get from there, like deliverables, right? Or you can say the milestone and the project start date. Those things are important, right? And then after that, you require WBS, which you will be getting from the client, and you can prepare it or you can get approved from the client. Number, the name of activities, duration, and the project calendar, and all those things. So major document, which is actually important, or you can say that is not that is not going to be the constraint for preparing the schedule, but obviously you'll get some sort of information like a scope. जब तक आपको project का scope नहीं पता होगा, तब तक you cannot go ahead, right? So for that you need to refer the contract document. So for preparing a schedule, you need to refer the contract document, work order, right?
Yeah,
Contract
document. Contract document more than maybe 700 page, 800 page, maybe how. Then how did you prepare the new program?
You don't need to
First of all,
go
go
for,
through
yeah.
Which one? First of all, go through.
You need to focus on deliverables, or you can say the milestone, because you need to add them on the schedule, right? You need to get the date from when the project is going to start.
Yeah.
You need to see,
contract start date and finish date.
yeah.
Then how
Then
did you making program?
and that's what I'm telling, man. You just listen it first, right? I'm saying that you need to focus on the dates. You need to focus on the deliverables. You'll have a section for the deliverables, so you can say the milestone inside the contract copy. You don't need to go for all the 700 pages to get the milestones, right?
Okay,
Then you need to see about the brief summary of the project. What is the overall summary or the scope of the project, right? Then you don't need to refer another things, and you don't need to go for all the complete 700 pages. Then you will go ahead with the execution team and you will finalize the activities to be added in the schedule with the help of what? With the help of execution team. The summary from the contract is only required to get the WBS, right? You can say the scope from the project contract copy is only required to divide it into the WBS label. That's it. Getting it?
Yeah, got it. What is the difference between tender program and schedule?
See, tender is something different and schedule is something different, right? Schedule is something your plan, that how you are going to execute these activity to complete a project. And tender is something, a legal document, or you can say the contract between the client and contractor, right? That based on these contractual agreements, based on these conditions, I'll be completing your project. And in this behalf, you'll give money to me, right? So contract is some different document and schedule is something different. Schedule is how you are going to complete those activity and finally you will get your project completed, right? And you can monitor the actual progress of the project based on the schedule, not based on the contract, or may based on the tender. Okay. Getting it?
Yeah, hearing it. But first of all, go through the BOQ. But you did not tell BOQ, bill of quantities. Otherwise, frame document. Then go through the drawings also. You did not say drawings. Did not go through the drawing. Then how did you making a new program?
See, obviously you need to go ahead with the BOQ. Then only you'll get the scope, right? BOQ gives you the scope. But always and always referring the drawing is not required, right? Maybe sometime required, maybe not. But when I say that contract, all the contract related documents, then obviously you'll get BOQ, right? You'll get drawings with that. Maybe sometime not required drawings, right? So when I say scope, you should understand whether from where you'll get the scope, right? Maybe from the contract or maybe from the BOQ document attached there, right? So overall, these are all the documents and the necessary important information which you require to prepare a schedule. Getting it? And when I say that you need to connect with the execution team to finalize the activity, obviously they will be telling you the activity based on the what? Based on the drawings. And if you are a planning engineer, you are not wholesale responsible for adding up all the activities by yourself, right? You cannot do like that. You cannot prepare the schedule, based on your exceptions or based on your, thought process or whatever you can say. You need to consult with the execution team as well, or the contractor who are working on the field, right? They will tell you how they are going to work. You are not going to decide that how you should work. Getting it? They will tell you how many labors I have and in what particular duration I will take to complete this work. You can only tell them that no, I'm not agree with your things, right? I want these activities or maybe this work to be completed in this particular duration because we have a contract for this particular duration, right? You can just suggest them, you can convince them. You cannot forcefully say that like, no, you need to do this thing in this particular way, right? So contractor will always define you. They will tell you their schedule, their plan, and based on that, consulting with all the other teams, you will prepare a schedule. Getting it? Is that clear? All right. Any other question from anyone, guys?
Any more questions? Hello? Students, if you have any more doubts, you can post it in the chat box or you can ask directly to the sir.
All right, I guess no other doubt.
So, hello.
So,
Yes, sir. One.
Yes.
Yes. Sir, what are the concepts from CPM and PERT which we would require to study before starting the course?
Okay, so from the PERT point of view, you don't actually need to learn a lot of in terms of PERT because PERT हम use नहीं करते. जितने भी softwares हैं, चाहे वो MSP हो, चाहे वो Primavera हो या कोई other scheduling software हो, सब CPM के ऊपर based हैं, critical path method के ऊपर. तो आपको क्रिटिकल पाथ मेथड की स्टडी सिर्फ टर्मिनोलॉजी समझनी है, वो आपके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है कि फ्लोट क्या होता है यार, अर्ली स्टार्ट अर्ली फिनिश डेट्स क्या होती हैं, अगर आप पढ़ना चाहते हो तो। अदरवाइज वी विल ऑलरेडी बी डिस्कसिंग दीज थिंग इनसाइड द कोर्स, बट अगर आप पहले से ही प्रिपेयर करना चाहते हो देन यू कैन गो विद दीज टर्मिनोलॉजीज की एक सीपीएम में कौन कौन सी टर्मिनोलॉजीज होती है, उनके बीच में क्या रिलेशनशिप होती है, राइट। सो दैट्स व्हाट एक्चुअली यू नीड इन द बिगिनिंग, है ना। और अगर आपको कुछ करना है तो आप सिर्फ टर्मिनोलॉजीज जानो, वो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि वो आपके लिए नई चीजें होंगी, उसके अलावा तो सिर्फ सॉफ्टवेयर है, राइट।
Okay, sir.
Don't focus on the PERT, focus on the CPM.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess no other questions. We can close the session.
Yes, thank you for the briefing introduction of the Primavera course, sir. And everyone can check the chat box for the review, Google page review, and the payment details about the course. And I have dropped the link, like both of the links are there. You can access to the link to chat box, and you can review the session on Google page or Google page. Thank you for the session and good night.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, sir.